Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session related to budget deliberation for Tuesday, October 26, 2021, 10:21 a.m. My name is Ty Menzer, Chair of the Board, Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, County Manager Ramiro Chavez, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and our budget team is up on the screen. I see Shelley Slaughter from Public Health and Carrie Hennon from Treatment Sales Tax. We're here until noon. We're picking back up at 1:30 till 4, so on a separate video session. But we'll be in budget deliberation, walking through the pieces as we have been over the last 4 or 5 business days. Treatment sales tax is up next, so I'll look to Robin to kind of guide us and get us going.
All right, so good morning, commissioners. Thank you. And we are going to begin today, again, as you said, with treatment sales tax. With this packet, we are on packet number 7. And we're going to just go straight down the list as we have been doing, up or down. You'll see there, yep, packet 7, there you go. These are in the order by the change request number. They are not in ranked order, but you can see your rankings over on the right side of the page. All right, so I'm going to start at the top of the list, and it's a yes, no, or thumbs up, thumbs down is the question. We do have the experts on the screen if you have questions. So line number 1, B0604 is from Superior Court. They would like to add the Safe Babies Court Coordinator to TST. This is, you'll see that 2022 is only $23,000, and that's because we currently have a grant. So this assumes that the grant would not continue. There is a chance that it will. And if it does, then we would continue with grant funding and not spend this money.
Could I have a copy of the recommendations? I'm sorry, since I don't have that. Just
From the TSD?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah, that is it. That one was yours, and I just gave it back.
I do apologize.
And no, I apologize, Commissioner, because apparently that is the one that I lost.
I mean, the copy.
So I just made the I have everything else, just the recommendations. Just what they recommended and what they
The
did.
presentation document.
Yes,
Yeah.
recommendations, okay.
Please, I'm sorry.
We all knew those terms.
That's okay.
All good. I have my notes here, but, you know.
I thought I was good, and then I was like, wait.
Yeah, I don't know if this is my copy. It doesn't have your X's on it. So while he makes that copy for you, are there any questions about this? I believe that the advisory
They
board,
recommended.
I think they did.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking.
The one, the babies?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's recommended. The first item is recommended. The second item is not.
Go ahead and clean it up for that one. Thumbs up.
Yes, thumbs up. Two thumbs up,
I'm
thumbs
sideways thumb on this
up. A sideways
until I
thumb
see everything else.
until you see all the rest.
I'm not sure this is going to fit for me.
Okay.
Maybe it will.
We'll
So
come back to that.
we'll hold this and come back to it. And it is okay for any commissioner to ask that we come back to something. Don't hesitate to say, can we come back? So line number 2 is B0610. It is to add a family recovery court manager to TST. Questions on that?
TSD is not recommended funding this.
And I
And you've
see
all ranked it as
it doesn't
low,
look
I
like we
believe,
have
for
used.
that reason. So let's see, 1 thumbs down, 2, 3 thumbs down. That is a no. Line number 3 is for intensive supervision probation counselor. It is for district court. It's about roughly $100,000 a year, a little more in the first year, a little less in the second. It received a ranking of 5, and Ramiro, what is this?
That is not recommended.
Is not recommended by the committee.
And I guess I have just maybe a comment on it. Does this would this position fit into what we're talking about with Mary Ann's shop about some consolidation?
I really don't fully understand this request myself,
Okay.
but
well, then
it
that's
could.
So let's turn, perhaps Carrie could give us a little bit more information about what the ask is, very short.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carrie Hennon, Public Health and Social Services. So this is a request from District Court for a probation counselor who would specifically focus on individuals with behavioral health disorders and have a much lower caseload than the sort of regularly funded probation counselors. TST does fund one of these already. That was new to TST roughly 2 years ago. And the request from District Court is to fund a second one. To sort of speak for the advisory committee, they, as the county manager mentioned, they did not recommend this one for funding. And this was sort of part of their desire to focus more on treatment, very therapeutic services, and kind of earlier intervention for individuals involved in the justice system.
Thank you.
Judge Buckley, and again, I didn't rank this high, but his argument was, you funded one and it's been extremely successful, kind of like the argument of the veterans pilot program, like we started small, it's been excellent, we could use another one. So building on success was his argument, but I think I was the one that ranked it low, so just remembering what I heard.
Other questions or comments?
Somebody ranked it high, I don't know.
It wasn't, because I went with the recommendation, so.
Commissioner Edwards.
They ranked it high?
Yeah, somebody did.
Here's the deal. I don't know, maybe I've got it in here. Maybe I thought it was a successful program, and that's maybe why I did that.
Yeah.
But I'm not at all sold on it. I'm more concerned about this consolidation of services with pretrial services.
It'll come later.
Yeah, that'll be coming in the future. I think we can become much more efficient if we kind of centralize our activities there somehow, yet to be determined.
Yep, I agree.
So that's where I'm at. No.
No?
Alright.
Thumbs
Yeah,
up.
okay.
Ready to, I see down, down, and down. All right, so this is saying no. Then, the top of page 2, line 4, this was one before it. So we're on line 5, it is from District Court. They are asking for a care coordinator for mental health and veterans court. And there was one suggestion that we have a proviso that there would be a minimum number of participants in mental health and veterans court before they could hire this person. And they've suggested it for 2023. They are anticipating the caseload to grow.
It is recommended from GSD.
So for me, I think with the Blake decision and how this caseload is going to be, a lot of these are gonna be going into district court. I feel these programs are gonna be more overloaded than what they've been in the past. So I do find the benefit in something like this, just because of, specifically because of Blake and kind of like how it's gonna shift the pressure to district court now. With a minimum of 55 participants though, it makes me kind of nervous usually, because I mean, even with drug court, they have kind of a lower level of participants just because they can focus more, and if it's 55, then they're gonna be pretty overloaded already for something like this to come in play. I'm not sure. Carrie, do you know how many, thank you. Do you know how many participants they're currently like, just 55 seems really high to me, but maybe that's kind of like the base which they operate, and I'm just off base.
So thank you for the question. So they already have 2 of these positions, 2 care coordinators
Okay.
funded by TST to manage the existing caseload. I can't tell you exactly what that is right now. It was low. They've been building it back up over the past several months, and they've said for a long time that their cap is 55 as a result of really staffing. So this would be, let's add a position to move that cap up to allow for more participants.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that then. Okay.
Right. Other comments or questions?
You know, it looks like I rated that as a medium. I don't see that there's a
I
medium.
don't see medium.
So there's 2 highs and a low. and
2
I was-
highs.
I was the low. I mean,
I mean, I've got M on my score sheet,
That's an M?
yeah.
Okay.
But I've also got okay over here if we do the recommended for, the 55. With the proviso that.
So I interpreted your okays as highs, and I put the note for the proviso on the page.
Yeah, good, that's
Okay.
fine.
So, thumbs up,
Well, I
thumbs
wanna-
down.
I want to hear kind of Commissioner Mentzer's, if you don't mind. Just-
yeah, I'm probably a sideways thumb still, because I think I really wanted to help district court with their really big ask about the alcohol monitoring. And when we were talking about TST, there was a possibility of funding it there. So I was kind of testing everything against that. Like if I thought that it wasn't as important as that, I was saying low because I would want to put the priority toward the district court proposed monitoring program.
Right.
So I probably rank things lower, that if that's off the table and we can't do that, then maybe some of these things will rise up, which is why I'm gonna say hold and come back, because things I put low maybe are now medium for me
Okay,
if
so
I can't fund the monitoring program.
and let's just get that out of the way. The district court had suggested in their general fund, requests that they wanted monitoring program for, offenders,
EHM.
yeah.
Or not
electronic
Scram.
Scram, that's right, it was Scram.
Alcohol
And
monitoring.
the question was, can we fund that with TST? So we have a legal opinion from Elizabeth saying, no, we cannot. So
That was like
not
600
an
and some
option.
$1,000.
It was a large amount.
Commissioner Edwards came up with that and I was really thought that was a good idea. So it's kind of messed up my rankings.
Okay, so that's off the table and I'm happy to put a hold on this and we can come back to it.
Okay,
Line 5, right?
It's line 5, yep, it's on hold. And line 6 goes with it. Line 7 is from pretrial services. They are requesting a new TST Resource Hub Program Manager. All of you rank this as high.
And that has been recommended by the TST.
So thumbs on up, I see 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Yep. Line number 8 is from Public Health. It is a treatment sales tax. That's not a good title. So it is to introduce co-responder services to the sheriff's office utilizing crisis service clinicians and certified peer counselors.
Oh, this is part of the Continue to the Lead program?
Yeah, and I thought the continuation of lead specifically said that, so, no, lead is on line 15. So, this would embed crisis staff directly in law enforcement.
Which one is this?
This is line 8 on page 2. It is in response to House Bill 1310.
Why is it called policy change request?
The title is not good.
So where would I find it under my sheets?
It should be under the sheriff's office.
Sheriff?
Well, it's a request out of public health.
This is where.
Hey, Carrie, can you give us a clarification on that one?
Contain HSO.
I wonder if the other side hit.
I can probably clarify a little. The lesson learned for next round, I think the ASO requests and the public health requests got mixed together and not distinguished well enough. This is really an ASO request. The funding would go to the ASO,
I see it.
but is this close partnership with the sheriff's office? It is different from the lead request, the continued funding for lead. This is a co-responder, as someone said, in bed with law enforcement. They just implemented a similar model with the Lacey Police Department, which is kind of in the moment crisis response embedded with the police department.
And so this is going with the sheriff's office. What did they say about this? You know?
The undersheriff submitted a letter of support. So the request originated out of public health on behalf of the ASO, but there was a letter of support. Was in the budget material somewhere, but from the sheriff's office.
Okay, then,
All
I
right,
guess I can change my okay to a high.
okay. 3 thumbs up.
3 thumbs up?
Line 9.
The teacher did pretty good interpreting.
I tried. Line 9 is a decrease in funds for the jail's behavioral health program.
That's always interesting in mine.
Decrease in fund for the jail's behavioral health program. Additional funding.
Do you want me to clarify this one?
Yes, please.
Okay, also an ASO request. So TST funds a lot of the mental health services directly through the ASO, the jail mental health services. They have received another fund source from the state that can fund a jail transition peer. So they're saying, hey, they can, as Robin said the other day, spend someone else's money, spend the state's money, and
Great.
give this back to TST.
Thank you. That's a yes all the way around. B4004, this is intensive behavioral health treatment for non-Medicaid transition age youth. So we had 1 medium, 1 high, and 1 question mark on this.
Okay, which one are you on now?
I am on line 10 on page 3.
Okay,
And it is intense behavioral health treatment for Medicaid, non-Medicaid transition age youth. And are you able to find?
yeah, I got it, yeah.
Okay, so it is,
I'm just gonna go with the recommendation on that.
yes, questions?
I think I have questions on that, but was that recommended for approval?
It's
Yes,
recommended.
Okay, I'm good.
so,
I'll
got 3 thumbs up.
change my question mark, I guess.
Great. Line 11, B4005, this creates a scattered site pilot program with peer outreach, also through the TMBHASO.
And that's recommended for approval as well.
And that's not the same as the scattered,
No, it's different.
It is
vehicle.
different,
No, this is behavioral.
yeah, nothing to do with that, right?
correct?
Okay.
And one commissioner ranked the second year as low, medium in the first year and low in the second.
That was me, because I thought that the scattered site program, pilot program was not supposed to be 2 years.
Okay,
And I didn't get any disagreement at the meeting.
It's different than the homeless scattered site program, this behavioral health.
Well, what are the scattered sites? They're not the same scattered sites that were picking up trash, and Carrie's nodding.
It's the same to provide behavioral health assistance, is that what it is?
So it's to bring a behavioral health element alongside that at the same scattered sites, yes. So I think
So it's the same.
somewhere in the communication that we weren't clear, it was that was a 1-year pilot.
I'm not willing to,
So-
I'm with Commissioner Edwards on this one, and I'm not willing to agree that that's gonna be 2 years worth of existence for those scattered sites. Maybe it will, but I'm not ready to budget for that
okay,
myself.
so then I'm gonna split up the years. Can I see thumbs on year one? Unless Commissioner Mejia, do you have questions before we go to a vote?
I'm confused now.
All right.
Sorry, I was like, oh, okay, and then I guess I thought it was something different. So this would be basically for a person who's got training in behavioral health to go alongside what we have now for the scattered site mitigation, so it would be with OLIMAP,
Yeah, that's my understanding.
to go to the scattered sites. Yeah.
So I was also a little bit confused myself, but based on what Carrie stated, that is the intent, is to provide additional support to this scattered site program. But I can certainly understand, since the board approved only for 1 year, why committed for a 2-year funding without knowing the report, whether that project was successful after the 1 year. I can understand that.
What's the legal, I mean, there's a million reasons, like the legal landscape is changing, what we might be able to do or not do, and, it's just not a 2-year commitment from my perspective.
I can certainly understand that.
I'll do 1 year, yeah.
So
1 year.
year one, thumbs,
Commissioner.
1, 2, Commissioner Edwards,
Well,
1 year
I-
only?
No, I'm definitely not 2, and I'm not
Okay.
sure I'm there at 1 at this point.
So we'll say yes
Yeah,
for
you better
2.
say, don't hold it. I can't go for it at this
Yes
point.
for
but I've
2,
got- I see
and the
what you-
second year I'm hearing
3 thumbs down.
all around. Okay. Line 12 is for diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is 2 parts to this part. The TST, $150,000 per year, focusing on enhancing DEI in community-based behavioral health programs. And part 2 is $50,000, which still doesn't add up to 320, for training to support training, consultation, organizational assessment, and other activities.
I see Denise has her hand up. behind you.
Yes, Denise.
So I can explain why it doesn't add up. It's because the original change request was for $200,000, but the TST Advisory Committee had recommended an additional $120,000. That's in there. And so that obviously provides you some options though. But I want to make sure it was that the whole ask was in there.
And is it a plan?
Goes back to that question.
Carrie, can you explain the thinking of the committee as to why they thought 200,000 wasn't gonna cut it and that 120,000 more was gonna cut it? We've been kind of struggling with kind of we don't even have a set strategy in place to the board's satisfaction, so can you illuminate the committee's thinking about that additional request?
Sure, yes. So the majority of this, the idea is for actual services, not, there's a small portion that is envisioned as consultation and training for existing program. The majority is do an RFP to the community to develop specialized services for diverse populations. So maybe it's a evidence-based practice that is normed for a particular population. Maybe it's outreach to another particular population. So kind of looking to the community to find those unmet needs that we hear about all the time in these conversations, but looking to actually fund specialized services. The reason the recommendation went up was really, this was something that was envisioned by the advisory committee as a big priority. Then as we worked through all of the requests, priorities, et cetera, and came down to sort of the bottom line of how much can TST afford to spend, it looked like there was some additional capacity there. And the committee said, okay, what do we see as the big priorities for the community? And they saw this as one of those top areas of need. Does that make sense?
It does. It sounds like it's very high level. You know, they weren't trying to fund X component or Y component. They just wanted to show their commitment to the priority at a higher level, which I understand, but
Yeah, I just don't see a plan.
Commissioner Mejia.
So where I'm at, yeah, it kind of along those lines, the same. I mean, for me, I would be willing to fund it in 2023, right? I feel like, again, goes back to like, we don't even know the direction that the county is heading in yet. And then maybe, so we could start doing the work, partially fund in 2022. I feel like in 2023, we'll have more of a clearer idea though. So I'll vote yes for 2023. Right now at that full amount, no for 2022.
So just as a reminder of what the board chose to do yesterday on the DEI for public health is you have chosen to put a proviso in the budget that once we have the plan, then that would trigger release of funds with the board's approval, and we can do the same thing for this.
I'm not for the whole thing, no matter what.
Yeah.
Or we could do, I mean, this is another idea, fund 100,000 for 2022, 200,000 for 2023, just to keep it simple.
We could absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is there gonna be a proviso on that?
I would, well, my proposal is just to keep it like that and not get in the proviso world, because it's just keep it simpler.
So
With
what-
it's half of what was originally requested and less than a third of what TST advisory committee is saying, and then ramping up to the full request in the second year. We know we'll have the plan in place by 2023, so.
So your proposal is 100,000 in 2022 and 200,000 in 2023?
But why, I guess my question is, why wouldn't that same funding source that you were commenting on with the proviso, why wouldn't that cover it and we won't even need this?
because that, what you looked at yesterday would be looking at health outcomes across the community in, all types of healthy behaviors. This is specifically related to treatment for people with mental health and substance abuse issues.
Are you coming as well, I mean, for the plan? I think
Yeah.
when we get to the point of having a plan, the board will have a more comprehensive view as to what we need to do.
I don't know,
I mean, if the concern is about the plan that's gonna be needed once we see the plan, then we should just not fund it till there's a plan, you know, and then we can evaluate whether there's a need. Because the proviso we did for public health, we were kind of saying, we know we're gonna need these activities, because health disparity has been one of the things that we actually have hard data on.
Right.
So, plan in place, get the person, right? This is a little different. This is, taking Commissioner Edwards' comments, this is saying, I'm not even sure, without seeing the plan, I'm not even sure we need this expenditure. So it shouldn't just be an automatic trigger and then spend, it should be, I mean, if, just fleshing your idea out, it should be reevaluate. once we see-
Maybe having the same proviso for you to consider.
That's why I'm more, like with your suggestion,
Your suggestion
with
is
that
the proviso.
proviso.
So 100,000 in 2022, 200,000 in 2023, with a similar proviso of public health. Will that be something the board will consider?
Yeah, if that's administratable, I mean, I don't know how.
Absolutely, easy to do.
So just to confirm,
But at some point, somebody's gonna have to come back with a plan
Someone-
and say to the
right.
board,
You'll see a
here's the
plan,
plan. Do you wanna move forward with this proviso? At least it's in the budget to be able to do it if we get there.
that's exactly right. The having a plan in hand would then trigger the provisos to come back to you and say, okay, now that we see the plan, we're gonna implement it like this.
Then if we don't, funds will just roll over, I guess.
Right. The
yeah.
money
absolutely,
stays in the
those would
fund.
like to the fund balance.
All right, so we're doing line 12 becomes 100,000 in year 1 and 200,000 in year 2 with a proviso. Okay. Line 13 is for increases for funded treatment programs. And what this is, it provides a 4% COLA to providers of these services that contract with the BHASO. It's about 60,000 a year.
That's recommended.
Yeah. I guess, I don't think 4% is gonna be enough, but I'll support it and see what we need to do.
Yeah, I'm okay on that.
Votes, Commissioner Mejia? Yes, all right. Line B4009 is for the expansion of children's mobile crisis services. And this is buying an additional FTE also at the BHASO, and it matches a second FTE. It looks like they're able to leverage some type of money, but these are non-Medicaid children.
And I really don't understand that myself, but I'm kind of going along with it from the standpoint that the ASO is saying it's needed because of a gap in the system, is the way I took it, so.
I remember asking about it and it was just like, it's just a,
It's not very
it's
clear.
nothing different. It's like our crisis system that's having, I understood it as having people with sort of specialized training of dealing with children to respond to crisis calls, the way they would respond to crisis calls for adults now. That's what I was told in the last meeting.
Then it goes back to my 30% of the population and stuff, so I have a hard time voting against it.
So you okay?
Yeah, no. Thumbs up,
I guess I'm the thing.
three thumbs up. Line 15 is here's lead. This continues lead when the funding from the state ends. If we get extensions in the grants, we would use that before we use this.
I'm not sure I'm in favor of keeping this thing going if we don't get the grant, because maybe it's not working. How do we assess that?
You know, I mean, there's a lot of built-in pieces that help you assess that. I don't think we have any idea right now how it's going.
The program is building up, and I've received some reports that the referrals have increased significantly. So getting to the point whether it's working or not, I think it needs a little more time to see the success of this program.
I don't know, $700,000 in 2023 is a big chunk to take out of there and dedicate if there might be something better come up in 2023 for me. I mean, I guess I'm not against the 2022 portion of it, if that'll in fact keep it going. But and if this thing falters and we have to come up with funding, I don't know. It's not, I'd like to see how it eventually comes out, you know, at the end of next year. Without dedicating the money ahead of time, without dedicating dollars to a program that we don't know if there's success yet. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that is a good question. At this point, we really don't have to answer the questions, Commissioner.
Looking for the financial plan for TST, because I just want to remind you, oh, here it is, Fund 1180, it's under the public health tab. There is a lot of money in this
Well,
fund.
yeah, but I'd hate to be throwing money at it.
Sure.
Okay.
True.
But as you stated, Robin, you know, just because there is money.
That's
we-
right,
we should-
just because it's there, it's not a reason to spend it.
Spend it.
Can and should are different words.
I went to the Law and Justice Council last week on behalf of Commissioner Nunser, and it was the report that from several jurisdictions where the referrals are starting to go up. I believe that at this point, as the program is kind of starting to catch steam, it would be kind of against it to just pull the plug on it. So at this point, I'm a thumbs up for it. I think that as it starts picking up more steam, we'll see more of the results than the numbers that Commissioner Edwards wants to see. But until it doesn't, you know, we're kind of just going to be talking about it. This was one of the programs I heard so much conversation about, and so now I feel like let's just kind of, we should continue to do it because it's.
Can I ask you a real quick question on that? Okay. Say it stumbles, say it doesn't work, is there a way that we can say, no, we're not gonna fund this for 2023? I mean, even though we've already put it in the budget, that's my
Budget amendment, right?
You
Well-
could always do an amendment in the midterm, yes.
You also have the option, and also because on the biennium, by the end of 2022, is going to be a revision. So there's always an opportunity to accomplish what's
Okay.
in.
Yeah, we
But
do try to minimize the items you see in the midterm, and we've strongly encouraged offices and departments to think about 2 years, which is why you see 2 years on a lot of these.
But also, I think from my perspective, it's a good investment because some of the new laws, law enforcement has put us in the position to have this type
Yeah.
of services. So I
Okay.
think it's something the board should consider funding. There is a possibility here, which you do have money, to even gel even more that program down the road, so.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I'm an advocate for this. I don't think you could possibly target this type of money more effectively than trying to, I mean, think about who's targeted in this program. People that are engaged in what could be this deemed criminal behavior, who are invoking the response of law enforcement, and potentially prosecutors, courts, public defenders, jail, trying to intervene with appropriate services and intensive case management, of course, keeping them out of jail, out of the court system. I mean, this program has to succeed. We have to make it succeed because it is so targeted toward what we're trying to do in so many different systems, from pretrial services to jail resources team, reducing population, the resource hub, all these things. It's all about that. And if this program's not being successful, then I'm gonna be angry and I'm gonna be looking for how to fix it so it is successful. Like, this is the model, and LEAD has had it's a great thing for us to commit to because it's got national and regional support in place. This whole grant program was created because it has shown success all around the country. So we can I think we can invest with a pretty great degree of confidence that this is a model that can and has worked. And we need to make it work. Because if we just throw something like this off to the side, then we're back to having the same conversations about, well, you know, it's too many mental health people in our jail. We're spending too much money. Now we got a contract we need a flex unit. We got a contract with Lewis County to fill jail cells because there's too many mental health people in the jail. Like, this is it. This is how you do it. So I'm gonna continue to passionately try to support this. And I'm with Commissioner Edwards. We gotta look at it and make sure it's working and make sure the wrinkles are being addressed. There's a policy committee, there's a community advisory committee, there is oversight from the region. I mean, there's a lot of oversight. Like, we're gonna know if this program is failing, and we're gonna be able to just dive in and go, okay, what's not working, what do we need to fix? But
Maybe to add to that perspective, Commissioner, I think the question the board may consider is about the LEAD program. Is it a program the county wants to go through just because we have a grant? Or this is a program that in fact the county is invested to make it successful? And this is, if this program is predicated on the grant is gonna disappear next year. But if the board is invested on the program itself, this is the avenue.
Does this cover juvenile activity, do you know, Chair?
I don't think it does.
I mean,
I don't know why it couldn't, but.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Was that discussed at all at the meeting that you were at,
I think
Commissioner?
it's all involved, because, you know, whomever is on the crosshairs of law enforcement.
I know, but juvenile kind of falls within a different category somehow.
It does, because the juvenile system is geared toward rehabilitation and non-incarceration already, and they already, in a sense, the juvenile system already kind of does
Yes,
what
they do.
the
They
adult
do.
system has
That's right.
never done
That's why there's
effectively.
only 8 to 10 people over
So
there
this is,
right now.
yeah, and this is trying to take the adult system and apply more of that juvenile mentality, system mentality to it, to try to get better outcomes.
Okay,
I
I'm
think.
good.
All right, so we got
3 thumbs up, excellent.
Good conversation, Commissioners.
All right, line number 16 is for a social service specialist 1 in public health.
That is not recommended for funding.
Good, and you all ranked it low.
so.
So,
I'm good.
thumbs
Same.
down.
We'll just stick with that.
Line 17 is TST for a family intervention nurse program. 2 highs and a medium.
That is recommended for funding.
Yeah, I'm always with Gretchen.
Just remind me what we're doing with this here.
This is, it's for public health.
It's like bumping somebody up a notch.
Yes,
and
it
bringing
is your typical public health request. So it looks like they're going to do a half an FTE to full-time. And then they're gonna reallocate 0.2 of an education and 0.3 of a maternal health. Or no, another 0.2, so it's about another half an FTE out of current funding, that's what's on line 18, to TST to support the program. So all in all, it looks like about the equivalent of a full-time FTE would now be charged to TST. It's a lot of small pieces that you could allocate to TST.
I'll go with the committee.
Yeah. All right, so 3 thumbs up. Then we are on page 5, this is line 19. TST request to increase the wraparound with intensive services. And this is one of the recommendations from the advisory committee, $80,000 a year.
What do you mean from the, I'm not finding this on my sheet.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't have
I
rankings.
don't see a rating on it.
there were not rankings on this because I did not have a sheet. I didn't have this, so I couldn't put your rankings on what I was using to enter the rankings at the time I did it. But it's my understanding, and I think I remember the conversation, that the council is recommending an increase in wraparound services. And this could be through the BHASO.
Okay, I
It
found
is,
it.
but is it a double ask?
This is it's right on the,
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
it
Yeah.
does not have page.
That's
I see,
recommended over.
450, what I wrote was $450,000 now, and they wanna bump it up to, I guess, 530.
Yeah,
There's always a wait list, is what I wrote. There's always a wait list.
Yes,
for
I
these
remember
services.
that discussion. And, but didn't we just do a non-Medicaid bump for the ASO of about the same amount for about the same reason?
not
Just
for this.
a few steps back somewhere here.
This is for non-Medicaid youth in crisis. That's a COLA.
Carrie has her hand up.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Jerry.
Carrie.
Similar but different. So good memory, Commissioner Edwards, to the discussion 5 minutes ago. There was a $80,000 request that you just gave thumbs up related to intensive treatment specifically for transition-aged youth. This is a separate but similar request for under 18 youth and all your memories are correct. We spend about $450,000 on this now. Yes, there's always a wait list. So the recommendation was to fund a little bit more to reduce that wait list. Similar but different. So it's not a duplicate, but are similarities for sure.
County manager.
Hey, Carrie, I think I asked this question during the presentation. Since this request did not come from the TNBHASO, it was more of what I call discretionary by the TST advisory committee just to add this. How we determine the need? Because since they provided, in this case, the VHO, did not request for additional funding, how the TST advisory committee jump in to just give more money where the request was not included anyways?
Waiting list.
But is it,
Yeah.
but I think to expand on Ramiro's question, I mean, they have to have the capacity, the staffing or whatever. And I mean, like if 80,000 doesn't correspond to more staffing to provide the services, then how do we know that it's a properly matched or properly sized ad in terms of the provider's ability to provide the service?
So basically, correct, the ASO didn't initiate this change request. This, as kind of the conversations moved along and as I saw what Robin's revenue projections were, and we saw, again, there's a lot of capacity in the TST fund. So even after the change requests were in, the advisory committee said there's a lot of capacity, had a lot of different discussions. And one of the things that we looked at was, okay, are there existing programs where there's waiting lists, where there's, should we be adding another group? We talked through that for a number of different programs. This one rose to the top because of a consistent waiting list over many years. And so at that point, I did loop back to the ASO and say, if TST were to fund 2 additional slots or 4 additional slots, like, could you work with your provider to utilize those and staff that? And they were very enthusiastic about that idea. So we have kind of looped back to them to say, yes, that money could be used.
I'm good, Danny. You got 3 thumbs on this one.
3, yes, good. All right, line 20 is also a recommendation of the advisory committee. This is to supplement the True Blood Housing Grant with $500,000.
Is it 500,000 more than we're doing right now, or is it a new 500,000 to do what?
So they don't do any housing right now. The TST in Thurston County has not been used for housing, and I guess it's the next one that would get into the brick and mortar. So this,
And I see no rankings on any of this.
that's because they were new.
Because those are
I didn't have anything
recommendations
in the
by the
system.
TST.
There's a page in your thing that kind
Yep,
of summarizes it.
you
It's at the
might
back of the,
have made yourself
right
some
after
note.
that.
See, and you'll see I tagged them, and that's why I hadn't given them back yet. I
Is there a
tagged them.
page number on yours?
Yeah, it's page 17.
I got it. When page numbers help.
Yes, sir, I hear you.
Yeah, Mayor Miro.
And on this, the first year, in 2022, 500,000 has a specific deliverable. And that is really to provide, I believe, a partnership with the ASO and Homes First and True Blood Housing grant to acquire permanent housing for individuals. That seems a little more tangible from my perspective, but the second year is just there without having a clear grant. So,
And Carrie, remind me, my recollection is that probably the reason you've got this first tangible is that the BHASO and Homes First have done this, I believe, once in the past, and we're in the middle of doing it a second time because of some state funding that we were able to get our hands on. And so you know that this type of partnership has happened, and the BHASO has done this with Homes First in the past. Am I remembering that right?
Correct, yes. So the ASO, it's related to True Blood. I think the funding's coming through the Seattle Foundation. The ASO has this $1.1 million grant to acquire 3 homes, 2 in Thurston, 1 in Mason. This would facilitate acquisition of 1 additional home to serve that population. So this is a one-time expense. And it really is brick and mortar in that first year. The second year, to the county manager's question, was left a little bit flexible, kind of to work, in theory, to use the next year to say, hey, Office of Homeless and Housing Prevention, is there another sort of shovel-ready project that needs a little bit more local funding to get it over the edge? And that would, of course, come back to you all to approve what that project is. So, something that very much needs to be focused on behavioral health, but leaving a little flexibility to identify a project that needs additional funding to reach completion and to, where this would allow them to serve more people with behavioral health needs. That was the thinking there.
Thank you, Carrie. Commissioner Edwards.
Hey, Kurt, tell me what that Seattle fund is that you referred to.
So I believe the ASO has a grant to acquire housing to serve True Blood class members. I think the Seattle Foundation is just administering the money in that case.
Where does the money come from?
I believe from the state's contempt fine. I mean, again, this is probably more ASO question, but my understanding would be from the contempt fines, the state's contempt fines in the True Blood lawsuit.
Oh, like a litigation settlement?
Sorry?
Litigation settlement from True Blood, you mean?
Yes, for years they were in contempt, and that's where all the True Blood funding has sort of piled up from what the state has paid for not meeting its obligations under the original True Blood suit.
Commissioner Mejia.
I'm in support of the first year just because I feel like there's kind of a plan already, and it's for the second year, it makes me kind of nervous just because I feel like there's, just with the behavioral health, I mean, and seeing like what kind of project, I mean, is it going to, just off the top of my head, I mean, like, you know, can be like something multi-generational where they're taking, I don't know, it just, I feel like it can open the door up to more of a, not a mess, but a more complications than,
Would you categorize it as an unplanned expenditure or something like that? I mean, like we don't have a plan for it or?
Well,
At that point.
if I may, yeah, probably, that's would, at least from my perspective. There is a lot of moving pieces at the Regional Housing Council. Certainly, the TSD is a funding source that can help us bridge the last mile on a particular project. I think that's something the board may consider. But at this point in time, $500,000 in the second year without having that perspective, you know, may not be timely at this point. And I think staff, Tom and his group are working diligently to come up with a project or projects coming all the different funding sources that may be available. And this could be a funding source for the board to consider that.
So I'm gonna jump in and give a 2 cents here. One of the things we heard in the presentation that I really appreciated was the fact that in every program, every time the committee asks a lot of questions, the thing that always rises up is the housing issue. And housing is such a basic need. If you can't address shelter, then you can't address the higher level needs in your life. And how are you going to get clean and sober or address your mental health issues if you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight? So I think that that's the reason that we see a brick and mortar proposal in the near term and the request to develop something and contribute to housing specifically for this community, not just housing in general, but housing for TST eligible people who need to know that they've got shelter so that they can address their challenges in their lives.
I guess I don't disagree with anything you've said, but my concern is that we don't, on this type of assistance, we have nothing there to look at our own homegrown citizens first, I guess. I don't want to see somebody coming from Kansas City that knows the ropes and is able to just get in front of the line and we leave grandma out or a young family out or whatever it is that have fallen on hard times that are our own people. And I know that's kind of, I mean, I'm getting back to that whole residency thing where I think we need to take care of our own first, because I don't think there's only so much room in the lifeboat. And if we fill it up with everybody from all around the country, the boat's gonna sink. And that's kind of my concern on it, is that we have no residency requirements. And those that know the system have always been able to get to the head of the line. And I just don't think it's fair. So I don't know the answer to that. For a long time, you've heard me say that, you know, to come here to go fishing, you've got to prove residency for a year. To get on a list to get this help, you can be here 10 minutes. And I'm not 100% sure what the solution is, but some kind of a residency requirement for that kind of an expenditure, I think is needed.
Okay, so we have, it's
We better
not a
wait.
good time for me to call for a vote because I have to. Any other conversation?
I'm gonna kind of go along with Commissioner Mejia, what she said earlier. I would probably support a 1-year thing for a trial or something. I'm not even crazy about that because of the lack of requirements on, being eligible.
I'm sorry.
Waiting for you, yeah.
All right.
Oh, the school called me, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
Always a stressful call.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids first, always.
So
All
any
right.
additional perspective on this, Commissioner Mejia?
What do you want to do? No, we're kind of at a,
It's item number 20 and 21. 20
Commissioner-
is year 2022, and line item 21 is 2023.
Commissioner Edwards said he
We'll take
might be
them one
willing
at
to
a
do 2022, not interested in 2023. Is that your position as well, or?
I'm up for 2022 for sure.
So, but line 20 is only for 22, so let's get that one out of the way. Up, down, 3 up for line 20. Now, line 21 is for the second year where it's not a defined, but they would use the funds to leverage other money for this. And there's a down and a down. All right. There we go. And then we're on line 22. Which is a pause to the BHASO Step to Wellness Program. And it's my understanding that the ASO is just not spending this money. And I'm gonna ask Carrie to help us understand why the advisory committee would say don't give them as much money.
Thanks. Yeah. So Steps to Wellness, this program provides brief clinical interventions to young people accessing Rosie's Place, the community youth services shelter. They've gone through a lot with COVID in terms of how that affects the service model of that drop-in location and the shelter, and a lot with staffing. And so the idea, there's been discussion with the ASO and directly with community youth services as the provider, and there seems to be some agreement, hey, let's pause for a year, redefine program model, figure out how things work with COVID, and resume in 2023 was the idea here.
This is a one-time reduction. Thumbs up.
Pardon?
Yep. All right, so before we leave this packet,
You need to go back for a couple holds.
we do need to go back to a couple of holds. And then I'm also going to say, I think something is missing. Because was there not a proposal to increase the community funding?
The community grant,
Yeah,
that is at 250 right now, right?
yeah.
Was it a recommendation to increase that community grant?
Did I dream that, Carrie?
There wasn't, okay, sorry. So there is a maintenance level request to increase, because we overfunded the TST community grants right now. So I think this list did not include the maintenance level.
Okay, thank you.
Correct,
Thank you, that's
yes.
what I'm not seeing, so never mind. All right, then, going back to line 1, page 1. This again is the Safe Babies Court if the Safe Babies grant does not get extended.
I'll
Thumbs
change
up,
mine to a thumbs up.
Up, and,
I was the only one.
okay, 3 up. And on page 2 then, line 5, this is the care coordinator for mental health and veterans court. I see 1 thumb up,
On line what?
it's line 5,
Page 2?
yep, page 2.
So there was 55 cases. I mean, are we going with that proviso that was recommended by TST advisory committee, or that's off the table?
Well, that is on the table,
That's part of the vote,
yes.
so you're
So-
supporting that?
Yeah, well, they already have another 2 that are doing, I didn't know that. So they already have 2 people already working with the current caseload, and so if it goes up to that, then I see why they would need a 3rd one to step in, and it's only for 2023. So that answered my question. I thought they didn't have one and they wanted to do up to 55, and I was like, wait, there's gonna be some challenges there, but they already have two, that's why we're already working with the caseload, and I feel we're gonna see the impact next year with Blake, so 2023 would be a good year to start that funding, so I'm,
And this is recommended with the proviso, and we're gonna include the proviso.
Yes,
Okay, and I'll go with that.
there we go.
Okay,
Yes,
what proviso?
the proviso.
So we didn't fund anything that the advisory committee did not recommend, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we actually didn't fund a couple of things or parts of things that they did recommend.
That's true.
Okay, and so my question then, before we leave this area, is when we were going through general fund stuff, was there any identified items that we said, oh, maybe TST could fund that, besides the district court one that's got nixed? Does anybody remember?
There is the prosecutor who is asking to shift money to TST to the tune of about $400,000. There's plenty of capacity to do that.
Okay, what about the victim person? Carrie, go ahead.
That 400,000 is kind of already baked in. That's not an increase to,
Right.
that's a maintenance level request.
It's not maintenance level, but it is reflected in your fund. So.
It's classified as a maintenance level, I think, in the.
No, it's not. So,
Okay.
but thank you. So let's see, if there are any,
Could I
we
suggest
can watch while we go instead of me trying to look through
maybe
51
when
pages
we go
on
back
the
Okay,
clock.
yeah.
to the general fund line item by line item,
Yeah,
then at that point, considering that you have options and the TST, then we can.
So we'll walk away knowing there might be a little
Yeah,
bit of,
maybe, and then you may ask the
Yeah.
questions whether there's eligible, not eligible, we may have the answer, we may not, but that will be a good
right.
conversation.
And my question then to you, knowing that there may be other items that we would not fund the general fund that we could fund with TST, there is a lot of capacity in this fund, a lot. And part of the reason that there is so much money in this fund is because of a very high reversion rate. Part of it is because the sales tax growth is extreme, but a lot of it is a really high reversion rate in this program. You appropriate money and then the recipients don't necessarily spend it. And a few of these items that you've approved this morning are almost structured to do that. If we get extensions on the LEAD grant, we won't spend this money. If we get extensions on the Safe Babies grant, we won't spend this money. So I would encourage the board to think about, are there any other concepts that you have not heard, that things that you would like to achieve that have not been addressed? Because there's money in this fund. It's restricted, it's gotta be for treatment or in the court, the specialty court. But, there's money here. And you shouldn't be sitting on this much money.
You know, just as a follow-up on what Robin is saying, on line 12, we saved about $400,000 that would be added in there as well.
Right. Right, so, I mean, you could choose on a one-time basis to increase the community grants. And do, or some innovative thing for youth in trouble, or, I mean, all kinds of things.
when Carrie said that we were overfunded or something like that, was she meaning that we didn't have enough applications for the community grants to actually divvy out $250,000? Or what did,
That
what was
would be
meant by
very
that?
surprising to me. Sherry, did not enough applicants?
No, so this past year, kind of the opposite of that. You had budgeted $250,000 for community grants, but issued contracts for $315,000 a year. So there's another change request in there to increase the community grants to $315,000 a year. to meet those to ongoing contractual commitments, because we wrote 2-year contracts for
That's
those.
the maintenance level, but that money's already
Right.
committed.
But
So,
you
Correct.
said, wasn't there a proposal to increase that amount? And Carrie said, no, there's not. We don't need to, it's underfunded or overfunded. So why don't we just increase if we've got, why wouldn't we just do that?
I think you should. I would advocate that you should increase your next round of community grants by at least 100,000 a year.
And I'm asking Carrie, will there be enough good projects proposed, in your professional opinion, to meet $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 worth of community grants?
I think we could find more projects in the community, yes. You did just say no to about $900,000 worth over the 2 years of recommendations from the advisory committee. So Robin's point about there's a lot of capacity in the fund is well taken.
Sharpening our tools for the general fund discussion, Carrie. Sorry.
Exactly.
And may I put you on the spot? Of the decisions that the board just made, of that 900,000, is there one in particular that stands out to you as
It gives you heartburn.
that gives you heartburn? Yeah, that maybe you think we misstepped and it was really would be valuable if we changed our mind?
Well, so there are basically 3 things. The 1 year on scattered site, that's a little bit of money. I understand what you're saying. The scattered site is only 1 year. That said, the need might move from scattered sites, but it'll go to different places, right? It might go to a sanctioned encampment somewhere or a mitigation site somewhere. The need might continue. So I think funding those, clinically trained, clinically supervised peers, even if it's not in the scattered site model, but to serve that population, there's an argument for.
Well, if we give it a different name, I might feel better about it. I mean, honestly, because what you're saying, I know what you're saying. If we follow through with our 2-step plan, we may have a sanctioned area where there's RVs, and we would want to be able to maybe provide behavioral health resources to there. That might be a good investment, but that's not what I would consider scattered site. And I'm worried about how the community might see.
But also, next year, the board will have a report on the success or not of the scattered site. If there's a continued need for 2023, there is an opportunity for the board to add those funds for 2023. Because I don't think at this point, the board should be committed for 2023, because there is an opportunity to understand the success or not of the scattered site.
so I would very respectfully disagree. This is exactly the time for the board to be committing 23 in the biennial budget process. So.
Romero was making my argument that for annual budget process.
Yes, he is.
No, I wasn't. But thank you.
But what if we called it, case services to, homeless encampments, or, that's not the right phrase, but what's the title that you might give it that's palatable?
If you're looking
Knowing what it
if you're
is.
looking for flexibility, don't call it that.
Okay. I'm just, well, if I'm looking for buy-in, I'm not about to call it that.
Let's go back to what category is this under?
Yes, it is.
Public health, what page are we on?
Where is that?
Oh, here it is, it's on TMBHS ASO. Scattered Site Pilot Program Peer Outreach. Why don't we just call it Peer Outreach Pilot Program? And then it doesn't necessarily have to apply to the scattered sites, because in my perfect world, scattered sites won't exist in 2023, so this would be a waste of an allocation. So if we call it a peer outreach pilot program, then we can apply it, the resource to where we feel it's most needed, whether that's a managed site, a scattered site, whatever. I mean, I want to provide the service, but
Wherever the people are.
is that, Carrie, I don't know, you're not, is that okay?
Yes, I think that would be fine. You could call it mobile outreach, or
Mobile peer
peer support,
outreach.
mobile peer outreach, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Is that making it any better for you? Maybe not?
I want to help solve the problem, but damn it, I wish we had some kind of requirement for residency. That's a big bugaboo, because I think it's a big driver.
So I'm looking at the second year of line 11, and do I see giving the whole thing a different name, mobile peer outreach? I see 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs,
I'd like to
3
remind you,
thumbs
on the
up.
first year you voted no.
I know.
Okay. Just for the record.
He's flexible though. Commissioner Edwards listens and
He wants to help solve.
sometimes he,
Okay. You know, for the
I
record.
know, I don't even like it, but somewhere I kind of hope I'm making incrementally increases.
Okay, got it.
okay, and then, all right, Carrie, you twisted our arm once. You want to try again? Something else you think we misstepped on?
I respect, I think you've made lots of good points, so it's not misstepping. I think that was a great discussion about the DEI request from the committee. I think that you could sort of potentially merge what the committee said with what Robin is proposing and just do an increase to community grants. Maybe there would be something in that RFP that says that we're looking for community grants that support DEI, but it wouldn't be exclusive to that. So just, doing another funding round to the community that's a little bit
Without a plan?
broader in scope, TST eligible.
Well, it would be a RFP for the community, and we've gotten some amazing programs. This is how we found Heartstrikes, was through the TST community grants.
They have
So
to come to us with a specific,
that's right,
Oh,
they
oh, yeah.
came to us with a proposal that the
versus
board.
us just saying, let's just allocate to programs we don't know what they are.
So you,
I mean, so that sounds a little better to me, but.
I made the recommendation to increase from 250
To whatever the board would like. I think that we
You
could set
have
it as high
capacity.
as 400,000.
I'm not there. That's okay. Not there.
and also.
But community grants can be whatever we want to fund out of the
Right.
proposals. I
The
mean, it's not,
proposals come back to the
We're not
board
bound
for
to any-
approval
Oh, we're
before
not
you.
going for one.
this would be like the
specific-
thing where we get that little chunk that we get to sort of decide and people. make
Yeah.
You're
proposals.
saying it's just putting money into a pot that we would be able to use, so we would at least be budgeted for it? Is that what you're saying?
Right, so Carrie puts the RFP on the street, community programs propose a project to the county, and then the committee ranks them and brings them to the board, and the board says, we'll fund these ones.
We have a housing one like that, we have
Yep.
community conservation futures is like kind of like
Yep.
that, we get a list and we can decide to switch them out or.
Historic programs.
Historic commission, LTAC. all
Historic
that.
Tourism.
Well, yeah, but
yes,
it can't be all those things, because it's very.
No.
No,
but
just
those
like,
are
it's
some
analogous, I'm just saying
programs.
process is analogous to those, where
Yeah,
we
is it-
get a list that was ranked and we could
Yeah,
decide to
it's
fund
not
those.
just going, here's some money.
So these were kind of like with the grants that we received earlier this year, where I think we voted on to give, I
More.
think,
Best, more.
yes, more and.
Yeah, there's 250 in this budget, and you just voted to fund 315,000 worth. I'm suggesting that you could do 400,000, easy.
To me, like, it gets around the problem that we all expressed about the DEI piece, which is that we didn't know what it was gonna do. Well, if somebody came and said, give me money, and I'm not telling you what then it's gonna do, it's not gonna score high, we're not gonna fund it. But They have to come with a specific thing. Here's what we're gonna do
That's right,
to enhance this particular value. And if we think that that'll be effective, we fund it.
that's right. And you wouldn't have to have the funding only be DEI. You could just give
That's
some
curious.
weight to that.
Encourage people to submit those
Yes.
types of.
So do I see increase in the community grants to 400,000?
With a suggestion to encourage additional DEI projects.
Yeah.
That's a great alternative to just what's proposed, to just allocating money without a plan.
Can I just
Very good.
clarify the amount that you're proposing, Robin? So we already have $315,000 annually of community grants under contract,
That's committed.
correct? So when you're saying increase to 400, would we just be RFPing that remaining 85,000? That's a
No,
small increase. Are you saying an additional 400?
I'm saying that you've got 250,000 in your base and that we would raise that up to 400,000. So the next round of funding would be for $400,000.
Except we already have 315 committed.
Yes, I get that.
Okay.
Yes,
I guess
do.
I'm,
We can figure out the numbers.
okay.
All right. I'm suggesting that the next round of funding goes out for 400,000.
Are we just figuring out a way around what we were discussing earlier?
No, absolutely not. It doesn't fund any of these things that you said no to. It doesn't, it just enhances the money. The process comes back to you each time to choose from the list that's generated by the proposals from the community.
Denise, hands up. Go ahead, Denise.
Thank you. Robin, can I just clarify with you? So they originally asked for, 250, an additional 250,000.
Right.
So are you saying that then we would have an additional, I just want to make sure I understand, an additional 400,000 in total on top of the maintenance level?
Top the 315, right?
No, the 250.
So I think that offline, the finance people need to take a look at exactly what's in the base. I'm suggesting that we add enough so that the next funding round that goes out is $400,000.
Oh, okay. We can totally take it offline. I was just trying to make sure it wasn't actually a decrease from what we had already voted on, or
Nope.
what the board had already voted on.
Nope, it would not be.
Okay,
Clear as mud.
All right, so now that we've confused you on the finance side,
Commissioner,
I see thumbs, I see two thumbs.
You don't need my thumb anyway.
Okay,
Just,
one way or the other.
I know, but I just don't know if throwing money at the whole problem. I'm going back to my residency thing. We need to start doing something to help our own folks.
These are for community grants. So remember when they came up, it was several programs. It was Family Support Center, it was, I believe it was, didn't the firefighters apply for one too? It was just different groups.
The
that-
firefighter?
the city of Olympia
So this is
applied
not
and got a community grant,
So-
the police.
So this is not going, it's just community grants for different organizations to apply to. So-
Okay.
All right,
all right, so we're moving on then.
yes, let's moving on.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank
Very
you, Carrie.
helpful.
Thank you, Carrie and Shelley. So
Thank you.
we've got 15
Thank you.
minutes this morning before we wrap. And that is not enough time for me to even bring the model onto the screen. So I would suggest that we pause right here and and reconvene this afternoon.
1:30 with what, general fund pieces?
General fund is all that's
Dive
left.
into the general fund, that will
There's one other thing though.
There's one other thing. Oh, at one point we need to do capital, but it's a fast food.
What's packet 4?
Packet number 4.
That was, the non-general, we already graded that one. We
Yeah.
already went through it.
We're done with 4?
We
Yeah, that was
need
one.
to
We're not-
come back to
Yeah.
a few things that are on hold,
be,
but
and we
we're pretty
went back
much
to
done.
those.
So, no, we need item 30, item 26, item,
And aren't all those getting bundled with other things?
oh, well, no, the number 30 is the IT one that we were gonna discuss the numbers for it.
Right,
And then number
13.
26.
13, it
Is the
was,
cameras.
it was the cameras that we were gonna hold off on.
So
So-
yes, actually, it's a couple, yeah, you're right, a couple of items and number 4.
You can certainly do the cameras right now.
Now, when are we gonna talk about these, like segregated out buckets, like training, ERP?
That's in these next couple of days.
Okay, not the,
As we go through the general fund things, anything that came in a bundle, I have a
so
worksheet.
you'll just bring them up
Yep,
here and there?
yep, as we go.
Cameras, I can't remember, what was the deal with cameras?
So the cameras was a discussion where I think there was just a lot of concern about the cost of them.
Oh, yeah, you had questions or something.
No, I didn't.
I didn't either, because I remember saying, you're not gonna change my mind, but if you guys want more time,
I
that's
think the
fine.
option was to
Remember
consider
that.
replacing the cameras at the juvenile detention center as well as the jail using detention cells.
That came up after the fact.
So
Okay,
that came after the fact. I think we were gonna hold it until we went through general fund items because we wanted to see, I know one of the requests for me, and you were like, I have my mind made up, but I think our request was like, well, we wanna see what we're saying yes to and what we're saying no to, what we're to fund this.
okay.
There'll be a lot of
So then we
those,
still need to come back to that
Yeah.
after.
and that can't be decided right now.
Right. I had to kind of dig deep and be like, okay, what was it?
Good.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Okay, so we do have items to come back to, but I think it would behoove us to get through general fund and then come back.
Okay, then we'll just break for now, come back at 1:30.
All right.
Okay, thank you for joining us for this morning session. We'll be back in session at 1:30 with more budget deliberation on general fund items. Thank you, we're adjourned.